This is the thing. This is the problem for as a Paladin player. You are getting hit for 1 to 2k per global. You have in open world, you have 3.5k health. You have 5 to 6k in DGs because they have the HP boost. But like, if I have to run towards a ranged player, chances are I'm gonna die before I even reach them. I could be mounted. I run in. I get hit with 2 globals. A boomkin hits me and they get a Star Surge proc. Shadow Priest hits me and they get a blackout proc. I'm fucking dead insta 40 yards kinda. Mages are doing a ton. You can't even catch. Imagine trying to catch a mage with 3 blinks and 3 blinks they have and deep freeze. Shaman just absolutely erase you. You're getting purged. You can't slow them. They freedom. They grounding totem. They take like 0 damage. They get insta lava burst procs for like 2k damage. Enhanced sound are just erasing you. Rogues kill. Their game is so bursty down that if you're not PvP trinketing or bubbling, a rogue will kill you in cheap shot kidney shot as a plate wearer, which is not ideal. Melee hunters absolutely erase. Ranged hunters are shooting chimera shots that hit for like 1.6k right now. I'm sure the number's gonna go up, and they're gonna be able to do 2 resets off traps, right? So they get 1.6k trap, 1.6k trap, 1.6k. Warlocks are fucking pretty fried, as they have been, but I feel like Warlocks haven't even gotten that crazy. Yeah, Druid's nuts. Shadow Priest is nuts. Warrior is the only thing that's like not insane. And what else is there? So Paladins, we can kind of play the game with bubble every 5 minutes, and when we have PvP trinket up, we can kind of do some things and get to people. Maybe land a Hodge. Most people just PvP trinket a Hodge. They have so many mitigation tools. So many classes are so tanky now, and it's like even then when we get on top of someone and we're doing our thing, we do less damage than our opponents. Like us doing full PvE rotation, we're doing less damage than these range classes. You would think they'd be at a disadvantage in melee, but they're still out damaging us with like outcasting spells, so it feels really, really bad. So tuning that down, or yeah, forcing classes the cast damage to be where it's relevant, or giving Paladins some kind of tool maybe to gap close or be tankier. Something like that would help a lot, but I think the game in general is just it's too bursty, and burstiness rewards long range classes and stun lock classes. Like the time between being max range and getting to someone, when you're taking 10% of your damage every global, that's fine. I could spend 3 globals to run and I'll take 30% of my health and damage or whatever, yeah. Or like to survive an opening from a rogue, or like maybe a hunter frost trap opening, for that to be like 30% of my health, 50% of my health is like, okay, now we can play the game. But when it's more bursty, those 3 globals running in do 100% of my health, so it's like we don't even get to interact. And like that rogue burst or that hunter burst, whereas it was doing not a ton, now I'm dead before we can interact. And it's like being able to interact with your opponent shouldn't hinge around using PvP, using 5-minute cooldowns, like bubble and PvP trinket, just to get to them, and they use their cooldown and then they get away. It's not great design, and there's not a lot of mechanics to outplay your opponent, because globals, everyone has all these new global abilities, no coward casting. You don't have to worry about position. You can just hold W away, spam your globals, and then if your opponent gives you a chance, you can cast on them, and then if you get a cast off, they're totally erased. Or if you get a lucky proc and they're stunned, they're totally erased. So yeah, it's not great. Those are the things I would work on. If I really, really cared, I would go in and say, let me see exactly how to fine-tune these abilities and what to change, how to change numbers on these abilities and those ones. But I would just say, look at instacast or abilities you can spam while running away from someone as fast as they approach you. Abilities, proccing, stuns, mobility tools versus escape tools on classes. These are the things I would look at. And then just overall burst from casts. So these are like the 5 aspects, right? Whoops. If you're running away from me as fast as I'm running towards you, the damage you output shouldn't be insane. You should not be like erasing people. Getting random stun procs in a meta where getting a stun proc means you can just kill somebody is not great. So I would look at tuning down insta-cast abilities like Star Surge, shit like that. And looking at tuning down like things like the Star Surge Sunfox, Blackout Sunfox, because you're already melting people. Like getting that means they melt insta. And then mobility tools, like just put two classes together. Like let's say the really dramatic example is going to be Mage Paladin. Let's say the best spec a Paladin can play to gap close is Repentance. So I can get to a mage. Let's say I mount to him, and he frostbolts me, right? Or he probably frostbolts me, or polys me or something. I have to trinket the poly if that's the case before I can get to him. When I get to the 20 yards, I can Repentance him, and then I can run up to him and kind of get an opening. So my mobility tool only right now is Hodge and Grenade. Everyone has Grenade though, so it kind of goes away. But that's Paladin's mobility, is I can Repentance every minute and kind of gap close. Or you can play one of the runes that gives you 40 yards stuns, and you could do Twist Martyrdom or Twist commands into Seal of Justice to get a chance to proc, but then you lose, I think, Seal of Light or something. It's like 200 spell damage. Not really worth. But Paladin doesn't have a lot of mobility, right? And then when we look at Mage, Escape Tools on a Mage. Deep Freeze. Frostbolt. Polymorph. So if you can cast a Frostbolt or a Polymorph, huge Escape Tools. If you can't cast those, and rank 1, it's like 1 global. The Escape Tools then. Frost Nova. Frost Armor passive is an Escape Tool. Deep Freeze is a huge escape tool. Blink is a massive escape tool. And so when you give them all these things, and then on top of that, their strongest one, Blink, which is, let's say a Paladin gets to a mage. If that mage blinks and they trade nades, that mage is getting away. If that mage blinks, the only way you can normally catch them is if you Repentance them. So even then, it's like, they do that. Sometimes too, the mage will blink and then they'll go for a run for a global and then poly you. I think you can run in, if you space yourself in front of the mage and you get max distance, you can hodge them off that. If they get another blink off that, you're just done. You're running, you'll never catch another mage after they blink. And then them having a blink after that is crazy. So it's just like, you just want that to balance out. So like, there's a way, ideally, for a class that has to gap close to do damage, to be able to gap close, but take some damage in the process. It shouldn't be like, you're literally just, you'll never catch these classes in open world, or you'll get like CC looped in a duel versus these classes. That shouldn't be the case. And then overall just burst. Like ideally, like you should do a lot of damage if you can hard cast like a 3-second cast time thing, like landing a poly into a pyroblast should feel good. It shouldn't feel like you're just melted. Like I get someone cast a global on me, like they do a lava burst or a starfire, and then they do an insta cast, and it's like 100% of my health pool. Does not feel great. And then the last thing I would say is I would examine time on target, dam versus W key dam caster. The last thing I would look at is this relationship between classes. So this goes back to this. Things you can spam while running away. Like, let's say I'm fighting a Shadow Priest. They're going to be spamming Shadow or Death. They're going to be spamming Homunculi. They get a global for the other pet. They get a global for the third pet. They get a global for Shadow or Pain. They get a global for their disease. They're doing a global on Renew. They're doing a global on Prayer of Mending on themselves. They're doing another global on Powered Shield. So they have all these things they're juggling. It's like, okay, you could just play this class and never cast something. When the value from that Giga exceeds the damage that a melee class, a class who has to suffer through running in through all these globals, getting stunned, getting slowed, getting feared out, running back in. The damage that the person who has to run up and get 40-yard distance, gap close, and then start blasting, I'm not saying it should be crazy. I'm not saying you should get them in global someone. But I'm saying that damage should be higher than the damage that the class is doing that's just running away from you while you are on them. While you have all your win conditions are met and you're on them, you should be able to win that fight. Or you should be able to at least do more damage if you guys both start topped off. Those are things I would look at if I was Blizzard. Alright, so there's the constructive feedback, just off the top of my head. Cheers.